Yeah, quite a lot. Nice.
Where's everyone else's startup, I guess? Yeah. There you go, Petri.
Thanks, Matt.
It's
All right. So hi, everyone. My name is Petri Rajahalme. Across the pond, took the boat over from Helsinki. Thanks, Matt, for organizing with your team and everybody here at the event. So as I said, I'm taking care of the boring kind of business side of things. I come from FOE Ventures. So we started FOE Ventures together with my partner Dave in 2020, approximately. That's when we started talking about and planning what would be the first European venture capital company investing in this space. So just for context, a bit of background and why we are doing this. Dave has a bit of a entrepreneurial background. He started in the music industry, joined SoundCloud in the founding team, saw that kind of transition from, let's call it Web 1 to Web 2, then joined the venture capital side, and before FOV, he was at HTC, running the ViveX investment side for the European side. So investing in early stage venture reality companies. Myself, I've been an entrepreneur myself, but also been in finance in Luxembourg and Paris before joining Business Finland, where I started seeing quite a lot of VR, AR projects on my desk for non-dilutive funding in 2015. So I set up a 30 million euro program within Business Finland, then moved on to manage Nordic XR startups, which was an early stage accelerator investing in Nordic VR and AR startups, and that's where Dave and I met for the first time back in 2019. Doing the circuit, often with Jeremy, talking about evangelizing what is VR and AR. And then about 2 years ago, we were joined by Sointu, who's our operating partner. She's basically the one steering the ship in the right direction, whilst Dave and I are just running around frantically, talking to founders. And she has also very relevant industry expertise because she was a founder. She had a wellness company in VR as well a couple of years ago. So that's the context of who we are. And I'm going to take a slight detour first before talking about kind of the trends. And I'm going to dive into semantics. So 2020, this was the first deck that we built ourselves. So we're focused on high potential startups at the cross section of VR, AR, AI, and 5G, and we call this spatial computing. So 2015, 16, about there, Dave, whilst at Seedcamp, a venture capital company in the UK, invested first time in VR. That was Wave VR. Some of you might know it. They did virtual concerts. And back then, I started the 30 million program as well. But then suddenly people started talking about the metaverse. So you can see the Google searches just taking up in about like after the start of 2020. Obviously, the influencers there, Mark Zuckerberg changing the name of Facebook to Meta, everybody talking about these new virtual worlds and what is the metaverse, and it's the future. And for a while, everybody made a ton of money in that space as well. But then it kind of got a bit diluted. So it got kind of synonymous with buying land. And I don't want to downplay kind of the importance in history of the sandbox or Decentraland, but for us, it kind of it got us on the wrong path with the term, because it got associated with a lot of crypto, Web3, which, I mean, we'll see what their role in history and technology will be, but it wasn't what we were kind of looking to invest in. So we got the long-awaited entry from Apple into the market. Worst kept secret in the industry for 7-8 years that Apple was building their own headset, buying companies left and right to acquire technology and engineers to build what then became, according to them, the era of spatial computing. So it was funny to see how Apple deliberately avoided using any of the terms like virtual reality or augmented reality, and they wanted to kind of coin themselves now as we are bringing the era of spatial computing. And you always have to have a hype cycle slide in your presentation. So lo and behold, August, spatial computing enters the Gartner hype cycle, the most recent ones. So the next era of computing is here. Again, maybe soon, we'll see. So just to close the loop on kind of what we do and what we're looking at. So we invest at early stages, pre-seed and seed. We've done recently quite a lot of actual day zero investments, so the companies haven't even been formed when we come in and invest together with angel investors. And we invest across Europe. We've done 28 investments so far. Obviously, Dave being based in the UK and me being based in Helsinki, our portfolio is a little bit skewed to where we're based. So we have 10 in Finland, 10 in the UK, and then we have a couple in Sweden, a couple in Germany, and 3 in France. None in Estonia yet. Hopefully, we'll add something to that pretty soon. Estonia has always been an interesting market. We are angel investors in Ready Player Me, so we're rooting for that success from Tallinn. But essentially, what we're looking at is it's been a bit hard to kind of find a good term. Spatial computing doesn't 100% kind of cover what we invest in. So that's why there was a positive sign to the metaverse. It was just kind of a good umbrella term for everything. But essentially, we're talking about a new era of computing, which we think will be more intelligent, more spatial, but also more human. So more intelligent, one aspect of looking at it is all the cameras that we have in the world, an increasing number of cameras, whether it's on your mobile phone or wherever, on your glasses, and the development of AI in how those cameras kind of understand and can translate what they are seeing to you. More spatial, so our vision is that we are moving into a world beyond buttons, boxes, and 2D screens, so it's a more immersive space. It's somewhere where we can just act as we are kind of created to act as humans in 3D. But also, we're not looking to just isolate people in these virtual worlds. Hopefully, all of these technologies, which will allow you to work remotely, more efficiently, simulate and learn quicker, will allow you to spend more time in the real world. So we're not just advocating for a digital world, but a blending of these digital and physical realities into one. So I'm not going to dive into the kind of tech stack that we're looking at, but I'm going to kind of zoom into the AR VR side, a bit on the AI and computer vision side. So it was funny. There's so many things that kind of look when listening to Jeremy's keynote and looking at the slides. It's a struggle for several hundred years, and the struggle continues. So this is a bit of a more recent trend slide about the installed base and the annual sales. Obviously, that just gives you some comparison and just grounds you to reality. So the installed base have always been mediocre and have continued to be mediocre, and the growth continues to be, I guess you can say, at an okay level. But it's not it's not just going to explode. There's no hockey stick expected on these slides. So in a way, as a founder, as a developer, you always have to take into consideration what are the expectations. And talking to investors like 2015, 16, even to 2017, like the industry shot itself in the leg a little bit with the over kind of inflated expectations about everybody will have a VR headset soon. There was a ton of money going in, investments, and then when suddenly that installed base didn't materialize, there wasn't any revenues, a lot of VCs got alienated from the industry. And a lot of them still are. So if you've been raising money, you've probably come across a lot of investors who still don't believe in VR and AR as a kind of technology. But there has been some money made. Obviously, Meta and the Quest ecosystem has been actually driving quite a lot of revenues. This is already a year old, and back then they actually gave out a number, which is rare for any of these companies operating in this space. They very rarely give you any actual data or numbers. So it's surpassed that. Obviously, you could argue that they are putting in a lot of money themselves into that ecosystem. Yes, granted, but still, like, there's a ton of titles where if you've actually made it as a game title on the Quest Store, you can make $1 million plus in revenue. Like over a third of the titles that have been through the curation system have made over $1 million in revenue. So there is a market out there. Now, if we look past Meta, we can talk a little bit more about the Apple Vision Pro. So, launched in February as some might say an MVP. It's still very early, and it's still very expensive, but Dave was on the first plane to New York to get one for himself. So obviously, it was hugely anticipated, and people were expecting this to be the iPhone moment for VR. Well, it isn't, but analysts are still expecting that there is a good kind of growth that they can see over the next 5 years. Maybe 20 million units sold, where if you take a look at the whole market of installed base, it's not that bad. It's a good percentage of the MacBooks or even the iPhones, so we'll see. The main thing for me that it did is just a huge validation point for the market and for the founders, hopefully. If you've been able to test it out, I mean, it's a really, really good UX. Like the whole onboarding process, the quality is like, it's Apple level, as you'd expect. If you are in the Apple ecosystem, you have an iPhone, etc., it really works out of the box. You can just log in with your Apple ID. I use it quite often to kind of just dog food. So I look at my laptop, my Mac, and instantly I can connect it and start working with a bigger canvas. And obviously, there's the in-store demos. So just bringing more eyeballs into the industry and into what the device can offer. A huge downside of Meta, for example, was that they never had in like brick and mortar stores. So there wasn't really a place where you can test it out, go in. So now you have a huge chain of Apple stores where you can go in and do some demos. And it's rare to have a cool effect in VR. So Apple can still offer that kind of a cool effect. Now, is it too expensive? Yes, of course it is. But if you compare it to kind of previous consumer hardware innovations, it's actually not that bad compared to what was kind of the earlier big desktop units. And you should kind of compare it to buying a laptop or a home theater and not a wearable, which kind of you do when you're looking at the Meta ecosystem. Are people using it? Yeah, but a lot of it is not even daily. It's a couple of times a week or even just a couple of times or less. And what are they using it for? That's been the big question. There's no denying it. It's for media consumption. But if you're on a long haul flight, for example, it's unbeatable. You can just pop the Apple Vision Pro on, and you can just enjoy a movie theater like quality moment on a flight. So are developers excited? I don't know. I'll ask you. Are you excited? How many? Yeah, so that's kind of it, Laura. It's like, yeah. And there's been kind of a lot of talk about developers being left out or isolated, and yeah, they have. Like Apple, that hasn't been good at kind of cherishing those developer relationships. And also, there's two different ways to look at it. Meta had a very curated. You had to go through rigorous Q&A to get on the Meta store, and then you have like 1,700 calculator apps or 25 note-taking apps. So it's a different approach, and some say it's not really working for them so far. If we're looking at our deal flow, we've seen a very low number of developer pitches. And if we look at our portfolio, there's been a very low porting activity from other platforms to the Meta, to Apple Vision Pro. So obviously, the low distribution is still a challenge. Now, what are the reasons that you would create on the Apple Vision Pro? What are the scenarios where it makes sense? So install base, you won't get it. Not a lot of usage, so feedback from customers. But you might get a lot of media attention. And you want to be prepared for kind of being cross-platform. Or, which is a bit more risky, you just want to be a first mover. Obviously, that's an advantage, but how long do you need to take for being there? But also, we have to remember to be a bit patient. Like the iPhone, it took a bit of time before it had its iPhone moment. So we just have to wait and see how many iterations there's going to be, new devices coming on. Overall, it's just been good. Competition is always good. It drives people to do different things and faster. There's new players that are entering the market or re-entering. So it's an interesting time to see what's going to happen. But moving to less heavy devices. So this is Mark Zuckerberg's quote from the recent Meta Connect. Obviously, everybody's for the glasses form factor. Everybody's just been waiting for AR glasses. But actually, the development of AI, and it's mostly multimodal AI, it turns out that could be a killer feature. So what it means that the Meta Ray-Bans, for example, is a good example of very traditional form factor, sunglasses or glasses that you can wear on a daily basis for long times, where you're not having AR, but you can have AI, which already is adding a lot to it. And I think the videos, whilst transferring from a Canva to a PowerPoint art, didn't come through. So you'll have to imagine some great videos about the use cases of multimodal AI. But basically, it's actually quite good. One of the videos was very cringy. If you looked at the Meta Connect, it was Mark Zuckerberg doing a live translation with a UFC fighter. So that's one thing. You can add like AI can translate. You have voice as an input and output. You have cameras that can look at what you're seeing. So, for example, a Finnish company, they're tackling a very sexy agricultural market and tractors. But that's actually a great use case. Tractors, I've seen the cockpits, if you call it nowadays, and it's just like a cockpit in a jet fighter. And the users are actually quite scared of the technology moving so fast. But what if you upload all of the manuals of a tractor into a software that will then kind of translate, hey, what am I looking at with my glasses, and how do I operate this machine? And with voice, it can give you kind of input, like you have to put the stick to forward or whatever. You see what I mean? So there's a ton of things, and I think that this is actually something that can bridge a lot to AR and VR being more mass adoption markets in, we don't know, 5 years, 10 years. And recently, obviously, you had Snap coming out with the spectacles. Now, Evan Spiegel on the stage, he was saying, we finally made augmented reality cool. Not really, I'm sorry. It's still not cool, but if you look at the device, the glasses themselves, it's actual, like Dave in the UK had a chance to try them out yesterday, and he said it's stunning. And if you think of it, like they don't have a cord, it's not tethered, they don't have a puck for powering it or anything. Like everything, the compute and everything is in the glasses already. Compared to the Orion, what Meta kind of teased about, it is still tethered to an outside puck or a compute platform. So we shouldn't just downplay what Snap has been doing or what they were able to do, but it's stunning engineering. So it's kind of battle to the top, and it has made Apple rethinking their strategy with the Apple Vision Pro and what they kind of want to do. So obviously, people hypothesizing about the Apple glasses just being a competitor to the Meta Ray-Bans, for example. And obviously, there's more things that they can do. They have an ecosystem already or a distribution channel of AirPods. What if you could add cameras to that, etc. But the next part is, what if you take out the headsets altogether, and maybe we can play a video? Yes.
Hello world. Today we are introducing our company and a new groundbreaking visual alignment between AI and human perception. At Distance Technologies, we have created the first glasses-free mixed reality solution. This fundamentally transforms how people see and interact with the world around them. The practical applications for this technology are endless. It can transform the driving experience, supercharge the situational awareness for pilots, and ultimately bring visual AI on top of everyday life. By removing barriers between the physical and the digital, between humans and technology, we are moving into a new dimension for imagination, empowering you to see, work, play, and communicate in ways you never thought possible. Our technology transforms virtually any transparent surface into a three-dimensional light field with pixel-perfect depth control, finally possible without headsets, glasses, or other wearables. And yet, this is just the beginning. Together with our partners, the journey into a new world between the seen and the unseen starts now. Next stop, Distance.
So that is a portfolio company that we've invested in at pre-seed, which recently, only after 6 months, raised 10 million in a round led by Google Ventures. Some of you might have recognized the guy talking there. That's Urho Konttori, who was previously co-founder of Varjo, the VR headset makers coming out of Finland. So granted, it's marketing material, so it's a bit highfalutin, and you might not really understand what they're doing. But basically, as he said at the end, they can try to transfer any surface into a view into endless depth and 3D. And they're starting from the automotive industry, so how can you turn any windshield into a view, or kind of your glasses into mixed reality? Super interesting, super ambitious, but yeah, it's a team that, like if as a founder, for example, like VR has always been, it's hard to kind of talk about what you're doing, but you have a lot of content that you like is very intriguing. So if you want to see how a playbook of appearing bigger than what you actually are, look at the marketing done by Vario and Distance. You just need to look like you're world class and the biggest player in the world, and that already will open up a lot of doors for you. So just to kind of close off other areas that we're looking at besides VR and AR. So we kind of talk about play, work, and build as the kind of pillars that we're investing in. So B2B, B2C. A big part of what our portfolio is now is kind of picks and shovels, the infrastructure layer. Like DoublePoint, I didn't have a watch on me now, but they have an off-the-shelf Android watch where you can kind of, if you saw MetaConnect and what they teased about the Orion, they have an EMG-based wristband, which is kind of your controller. So DoublePoint can do that for any watch. Mostly now they've been working on the Android ecosystem. So with the sensors, they can do the tap, what Apple has for the Vision Pro, for example. So they have a clicker, wow mouse you can download if you have an Android watch. And that will replace the clicker. So you have your watch on, and you can use that as a clicker. But a lot of what we've been looking at is on the content creation side, because that has been a bottleneck for a lot of 3D. So let's look at a couple of examples. No, we don't have the videos. But Gaussian splatting, nerves, whatever you want to call it, with Gen AI, it's taken a lot of the kind of, it's not going to replace artists, but it allows you to just create content so much faster than what you've been able to build, whether it's Scenario, one of our portfolio companies, where you can train your models and then create high quality, style consistent characters for gaming as the first market. Now done in 2D, moving into 3D, create skyboxes. So it's really just making the time spent on the creation so much more efficient and faster. And then you can kind of go in and start polishing the end results that you have there. Or Move AI, where you can essentially just take your phone and shoot someone moving, and they will extract the motion from that, and then you can render with Unreal Engine or Unity on top of it. I had a cool video about it, but you'll just have to imagine it now. On the consumer side, obviously we're investing in a lot of kind of gaming adjacent stuff, or almost like games themselves. But for us, the trend or the thesis is that we're not investing in game studios, but we're investing in something where you can go in and create something alone, or preferably together. So again, sparking that creativity, doing that in 3D spatially. Commerce is a big area that we're looking in and where we have invested in. So again, it's getting easier and easier to scan those items, whether it's shoes or furniture, and get them to be represented in 3D, making it kind of more intuitive to see what you're actually buying. Hopefully it can reduce return rates and be good for us in general as well. Video. On the gaming side, obviously, Gorilla Tag has been now, like Beat Saber was the first runaway hit, Gorilla Tag the second one, They've generated over 100 million in revenue. You can't really go in there and spend a lot of time if you're 40 plus, like myself. So that's the next generation of gamers. They're going in, screaming at each other and at you, so you can just spend a little bit of time there yourself. But essentially, it's moved from a game into a social platform. Like the kids go out there, hang around, like after school. So that's the kind of trend where you can see a lot of VR getting bigger and bigger once. Well, an interesting data point will be like Meta released the Quest 3S. So what is going to be the sales numbers for that during Christmas? That's going to be really interesting to see what kind of spike it's going to get. And the last part, and this is where I felt the kind of pain points from Jeremy's slides. The ROI is evident. Like, there's so much evidence on kind of what are the benefits of VR, for example, in training or simulation or whatever. But then you fall into the next slide, which is, well, it's just cumbersome. There's no form factor, and who cares about this? So it's still the same things and still the same struggles for a lot of you as founders probably, or trying to sell your software. Whilst there is so much evidence of the benefits of it, it's still just very hard to penetrate on the market. So just keep grinding, make it multi-platform, use like mobiles, tablets, and desktop on the side, and wait for the moment that VR just picks up even more. Some of what we're looking at more forward-facing is, well, healthcare. There's a lot of examples of how you can augment surgery, etc. But more and more what we're looking at as well is the combination of the computers and cameras seeing and understanding more, and how that can be translated into not humans, but actually machines operating something. So yeah, there we have a video. Maybe it'll actually work. So this is just showcasing like the abilities. Like, you have seen the humanoids. You see what the crazy guy in the US is doing with his cars and now humanoid robots. But there's a lot of low-end stuff that you can do where you can simulate more. You can even use VR to kind of guide the robot and the robot arms. And it's getting cheaper and cheaper to do these. You don't have to use like heavy machinery, or you can use 3D printers, for example, to do those parts. You can buy cheaper actuators. So this is a really interesting combination of the physical and the real world, and how these machines can do tasks that will become more and more complex, where now we're at a stage of, if you've seen a Norwegian company that has raised a ton of money, their first promotional video was someone sitting on a couch, getting up, and the humanoid robot picking up the backpack and handing it to that person. So this is the kind of the kickstart gone to more complex tasks being performed. And that's it. Happy to answer any questions, or yeah, I'll be hanging around for a couple of hours after the morning part.